When I found Marietta, I didn't just find a place to go to college. I found so much more than that.
I found friends. I found sports.
I found my passion.
I found family.
I found my calling. I found a place to call home. Discover what you can find at Marietta by visiting marietta.edu today.
Coming up today on News Center 15, tragedy in Mexico.
And selfie intervention in the Church of Bones.
We'll have these stories and more. News Center 15 starts now. Good afternoon and welcome to Thursday's edition of News Center 15. I'm Jessica Hill.
And I'm Anthony Herman.
Topping our news this afternoon, the world's first selfie taken by a plant has hit the internet. Pete, a Madden Fade Fair at the London Zoo, has the capability to power a camera and take selfies up to every 20 seconds with the use of microbial fuel cells. Pete has a lot more power than zoologists initially expected and has accidentally photobombed his frequent shots more than once.
In Mexico, 14 civilians and 1 soldier were dead as a result of an armed confrontation. The incident began after authorities responded to a 911 call about a group of armed men in Tefochica, Guerrero State. Once the authorities arrived on the scene, the armed man attacked. Authorities seized high-powered weapons as well as 3 vehicles that had been reported stolen.
What's the weather like out there today?
Here to provide a first look at the weather is Landon.
Thank you so much for that, Anthony. Well, we had a bit of a cold break due to the onpour of rain showers we had yesterday morning, but we're going to get a break from that today because right now it feels like 52 degrees outside with partly sunny conditions, and it'll continue to be partly sunny throughout a good chunk of the week. Right now the UV index is at the lowest it can possibly be with very good air quality outside and a pollen count of a minimum of 3.3, so it's not going to be quite a lot of allergies to deal with. The winds are running at the west today at about 11 miles per hour with a humidity of 72%. So as a result of all of that, we're going to be having steadily warm temperatures throughout a good chunk of the week, but that'll start changing as we get to the weekend. But I'll talk more in depth about that when we come back later on for the 5-day forecast. So until then, back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Landon. As known as the Church of Bones, the Silodek Observatory Chapel in the Czech Republic is a major tourist attraction due to its unusual decor, which features the bones of nearly 60,000 skeletons. Despite reminders to visitors that the skeletons are still dead bodies, tourists have committed several disrespectful acts that have led to limiting photography inside. Starting in 2020, visitors who wish to take pictures will need to get permission 3 days ahead of time.
Protests continue in Catalonia, Spain, after the sentence of an independence leader was announced. The Spanish Supreme Court sentenced 9 Catalan separatist leaders in between 9 to 13 years in prison for their role in the failed attempt to independence in the region in 2017. The incarcerated leaders have not been encouraging the violent protests.
And when WCMO returns, we'll talk about near misses, strikes, and rock and roll.
We'll be right back.
I never chew tobacco.
I don't drink much.
Never smoked a cigarette in my life.
HPV. Isn't that about cervical cancer?
What does that have to do with oral cancer?
HPV. Didn't know that.
It took 5 weeks, but General Motors has finally reached a deal to end a strike by 50,000 of its workers. The tentative agreement was announced by negotiators Wednesday afternoon. In September, employees walked off the job, protesting their pay, benefits, and the treatment of temporary workers. The strike lasted 31 days and cost GM about $1.5 billion in profit. There's no word on when employees will return to work. The deal still needs approval by both union leadership as well as GM leaders before it can take effect.
Travel season about to begin. Here are some tips to stay healthy when you fly. The enclosed space, recirculated air, and large numbers of people making planes prime breeding bacteria grounds for bacteria. The tray table, overhead air vent, laboratory flush button, and the seat buckle are some of the most contaminated areas. To stay healthy, passengers can carry antibacterial wipes and hand sanitizer to wipe off seats and other areas. Getting a seat near the window can keep hydrated are all tips to keeping germs to a minimum.
You can see Utah Police Trooper Ruben Correa, also a Marine veteran, working to pull away an unconscious man out of a car as a train quickly approaches. The driver had suffered a medical condition that caused him to veer onto the tracks and lose consciousness. Seconds after Correa freed him, the train slams into the vehicle. Medical personnel treated the driver, who is described as a man in his 20s. He was not injured, and his parents were able to pick him up and take him home.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announced its nominees for 2020 Tuesday. Pat Benatar hopes she will be invincible. Expected Motorhead to try to win by play an ace of spades, while Def each mode reaches for some great rewards. Trent Reznor will be hurt and 9-inch nails gets snubbed, while Sounddragon will feel outshined and Judas Priest will be left screaming for vengeance. Whether she gets it or not, Whitney Houston fans will probably get so emotional and have Matthews will have so much to say. Fans are invited to cast their own votes on Google or rockandroll.com. The winners will be inducted in May of next year.
Coming up next, elephants, birds, and bourbon.
We'll also get the latest news from Hollywood.
And what can we expect for our weather? I'll be in with a look at your extended forecast on NewsCenter 15 after the break.
Where are we? College.
This is where we live at Marietta College.
Wildlife activists in Zimbabwe are trying to halt an alleged plan to sell 35 baby elephants to China and Pakistan. The sale has been in the works since last year. Zimbabwean wildlife authorities deny they had any plans to sell the elephants. The government revealed they made $2.7 million from the sale of 90 elephants to Dubai and China. Activists for Earth is still actively trying to prevent further sales. The animals are to be shipped today.
Hundreds of birds crashed into the NASCAR Hall of Fame building in downtown Charlotte Tuesday night. The ones that survived are being cared for by a rescue group. Carolina Waterfowl Rescued said Wednesday that about 100 are severely injured and need further treatment. About 10 birds had to be euthanized and an estimated 100 birds were killed. The remaining separated to be stunned and are expected to be okay.
Jim Beam, the iconic bourbon brand, is giving people a chance to stay on its distillery grounds for just $23 a night. That's the cost of a bottle of Jim Beam black bourbon. The company said it wanted to give its customers a chance to live like the 7 generations of master distillers. You can request to stay at the house through Airbnb. Your stay includes a distillery tour, bourbon tasting, and good old Southern barbecue. And of course, all guests have to be 21 and older. And then today in entertainment news, beginning with the new movie scandal that rocked the cable news channel.
And an estimated $30 million movie in theaters soon. Landon has it all in a Hollywood Minute.
Margot Robbie's character in Bombshell is a composite based on several former Fox employees who violated non-disclosure agreements to share their stories with the filmmakers. The first full trailer for Bombshell features an almost unrecognizable Charlize Theron as Meg Kelly, Margot Robbie as a young producer, and Nicole Kidman as Gretchen Carlson, who sued Fox News founder Roger Ailes, played by John Lithgow, for sexual harassment. Bombshell hits theaters December 20th. In other news, The Addams Family exceeded all expectations, debuting with more than $30 million, and you know what that means. MGM has given the greenlit for a sequel. No details on the follow-up to the animated family film based on the classic characters as of yet, though we do know it's due in theaters October 22nd, 2021. Well, this talented trio has a New Year's date in Pasadena. The Grand Marshals of the next Rose Parade represent 3 generations of Latina stars. EGOT winner Rita Moreno, veteran actress Gina Torres, and Olympic gymnast and Dancing with the Stars champ Lori Hernandez. This year's theme, the power of hope. And I hope you'll join us next time for Hollywood Minute. I'm Landon Santini. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Landon. Now we'll head back to you for a look at the weather.
How's it look out there, Landon?
Well, it looks like, much like the Latina Stars, we got quite a storm yesterday, and we had a bit of a cold front thanks to the rain that we got early this morning. But we're getting a bit of break from that today and for the rest of the week going into the weekend. In fact, there's some precipitation you can see in the northeast of the country that, thanks to the wind, is heading towards the northwest up into Canada, but it's going to just barely miss our little neck of the woods of the Mid-Ohio Valley. It's going to pass through a bit of the tri-state area of Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania, but if anything, we'll probably just get a slight drizzle over the next couple of days. In fact, today we're pretty much clear skies today, no precipitation whatsoever, so we can relax for a bit of a weekend of moderate temperatures. Now, as we take a look at the 5-day forecast, we start the weekend on Friday with a high of 60 and a low of 33 with rather sunny conditions. And we get a bit of a warm-up as we get into the nitty-gritty of the weekend with a high of 70 on Saturday with a low of 44, again, sunny conditions. Continuing on into Sunday with a high of 71, a low of 49. And then as we get into the next work week on Monday, it'll increase even more with a high of 76 and a low of 51 with cloudy conditions. But then on Tuesday, we're going to get yet another cold front, much like the one we had yesterday, with a high of 62 and a low of 42. And that cold front is going to come because of some possible thunderstorms. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that on next week because that's when we come back. And as we get into the next couple of weeks throughout the month, we'll find that the temperatures will start slowly getting more around to where they should be for this time of year of autumn. Well, I'll give you a brief little recap of that at the end of the show as usual. So until then, back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Landon. And we come back, Andrew will join us with an update from the world of sports.
See you in a few.
I think it goes around.
Come on, buddy.
I'm here for you. Oh, it's gonna be great. Look, look. Why is it so hard?
Let's go. We gotta get you in practice.
I read it. Look, and it stopped.
Where are we?
We're at Marietta College.
This is where we live at Marietta College.
Cancer may be tough, but we are tougher. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Our game-changing research has led to the belief that the cures for cancer are in our blood. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Beating cancer is in our blood.
And now we're back with Andrew for a look at sports.
There seems to be a familiar NFL MVP taking a seat on the bench this week.
Well, I don't think I have any stories about that, but lately the Cleveland Browns defensive end Myles Garrett says he got a nasty surprise when a fan asked him for a picture. Garrett says after the fan snapped the shot, he took a different kind of shot, hitting Garrett right in the face. Garrett was on 9th Street, just south of Carnegie, stopped at a light sitting in his car when the suspect pulled up next to Garrett's car and asked him to take a picture. Garrett was on the phone, so he asked the man to wait a minute, but the guy got out of the car and walked up to Garrett's window, which was open, took a picture, and then sucker punched Garrett right in the face. He then got back in his car and sped away. Someone posted the video on Twitter claiming to have witnessed the incident. Garrett called police. When police arrived, Garrett told me he was not hurt, just surprised. A witness picked up the plate number, and Garrett was able to ID the suspect as the owner of the car and as the man who sucker punched him. The suspect was not arrested. Steven Strasburg and the Washington Nationals tried to move within a win of the World Series. They lead St. Louis 2-0 in the NL Championship Series after dominant starts by Max Scherzer and Anibal Sanchez. The Cardinals totaled just 4 hits in their 2 losses at Busch Stadium and are batting .070 in the best-of-7 matchup. Strasburg faces Cardinals star Jack Flaherty as the series shifts to Nationals Park. Strasburg has a 1.32 ERA and 6 postseason games. 5 of them starts. He's 2-0 in the playoffs this fall. A review of college football statistics at midseason shows a lot of familiar names at or near the top of the charts, and a few surprises as well. Oklahoma is on track to lead the nation offense for the 3rd straight year. LSU, which has ranked in the top 50 in offense only 3 other seasons since 2009, is producing points and yards at unprecedented rates. Wisconsin has posted 4 shutouts in 6 games, and Penn State, Ohio State, and Iowa give the Big Ten 4 of the top 5 defenses. The Marietta College women's volleyball team defeated Capital University 3-1 on Tuesday, October 15th, inside Van Johnson Arena. The win improves the Pioneers' record to 12-11 overall, and 1-3 in the Ohio Athletic Conference. And with the loss, the Crusaders fall to 9-16 overall and 0-4 in OAC play. Marietta will return to the court tonight when they host Denison, with the game scheduled to begin at 7 p.m. With WCMO TV, I'm Andrew Condridge. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Andrew. Joining us at the desk is Landon for our last look at the weather. What's going on?
Well, it looks like we're going to be after the cold front we had due to the downpour of rain yesterday morning. We're going to warm up a little bit as we go into the weekend before going up to the temperatures of the low to mid-70s. Before next week, about Tuesday, we're going to get yet another cold front due to some possible thunderstorms with temperatures going down into the 60s. I have also looking ahead a little bit, and as we get into, we've got after this next week, we've got about 2 weeks of October left. Then towards the end of the month, when we get to Halloween, we'll finally be getting temperatures that is more appropriate for this time of year, to be honest, much more colder outside. Some might be dreading that, but I welcome it. I embrace it.
I don't know if I want it to be that much colder for Halloween. And thank you for joining us for Thursday's edition of WCMO TV, Channel 15 at noon 30 and 6:30. From all of us here at the station, we wish you a great weekend.